Well, let's get started now and news on the Sena versus Sena battle. Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Eknath Shinde, is in Delhi and sources say he's to lead a rebellion of Shiv Sena MPs during the ongoing monsoon session. Two MPs are openly in the Eknath Shinde camp, including Shinde's son Shrikant Shinde and Bhavana Gawali. Shinde is also expected to hold a second round of meetings with the BJP top brass over Maharashtra cabinet formation.
Well, earlier Uddhav Thackeray had sacked several key Shiv Sena leaders for anti-party activities. Eknath Shinde has been quick to react, picking up the leaders discarded by the Thackeray camp. The rebel camp claims to be the real Shiv Sena, while the Uddhav Thackeray-led group claims that the rebels are a breakaway faction of the party.
And all this comes ahead of that crucial Supreme Court hearing tomorrow on a bunch of petitions from both sides. Let's go across to Saurabh for more on this. So Saurabh, tell us more about Eknath Shinde's plans. He arrived last night and his plans in Delhi, and now a fight over the Shiv Sena MPs.
That's right. There is, of course, a chance that a few of the MPs, at least two of them openly with Eknath Shinde, is obviously likely to, be part of the Eknath Shinde camp. Then, of course, there are several MPs who are openly with, the Thackeray camp, and then there are some whose, alignment we do not know, or they've not yet played their cards publicly. So that is where the situation is. Now, what's also missing is cabinet formation in Maharashtra. And what we're being given to understand that a final round of discussions will take place today, following which cabinet, the formation will take place in Maharashtra. But again, on the 20th, we have, that is tomorrow, we have the all-important hearing in the Supreme Court on the issue of disqualification, legality of whips, and all of those matters, all of which have been clubbed together by the Supreme Court and is being heard by a specially constituted bench. And that, of course, is going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. This is, of course, in the, at this point, an ongoing sort of, the crisis may be over in Maharashtra, but the political turbulence is still ongoing. It's not completely calmed down because we don't have cabinets, and ministerial berths and portfolios distributed yet. So all of these things are likely to take some time, is what we're being given to understand.
All right, Saurabh, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So Sena versus Sena now in the national capital. In other news, now citing renewed threats after the Supreme Court's unexpected and strong criticism of her, suspended BJP leader Nupur Sharma has again approached the court to halt her possible arrest and club 9 cases filed across India over her comments on Prophet Muhammad.
Right, Gargi, her fresh plea will be heard by the same bench. That's Justice J.V. Pardiwala as well as Justice Suryakant that had criticized her on the 1st of July. Ms. Sharma had made her controversial comments about the Prophet and Islam while representing the ruling party on a TV show that happened almost 2 months ago. As it led to a diplomatic row, besides the protests in India, the BJP suspended her. 2 people have since been killed for supporting her, Gargi.
Now, in her earlier plea, she'd also requested the Supreme Court club all other FIRs with the one in Delhi, but the court had said, among other things, that she was single-handedly responsible for what was happening in the country. At that time, she'd withdrawn that plea. Let's go across to Sukirti for more. And Sukirti, so now, again, Nupur Sharma approaching the Supreme Court with this fresh plea and also saying that the court's criticism of her has led to renewed threats.
Well, yes, Gargi, it is important the fact that she is mentioning this criticism by the Supreme Court last time in her petition. This plea will be heard in the latter half of today, somewhere around anywhere between 2 to 3 p.m. It is expected to come up in the Supreme Court before the very same bench that had made those remarks last time. That same bench of Justices Suryakant and Justice J.B. Pardiwala is set to hear the matter today. So it is going to be very interesting on how the judges respond to the plea this time, because last time, even before the lawyer could make any proper arguments on behalf of Nupur Sharma, the judges had started commenting on her statements and the impact that it created across the country, and they had spoken at length about this. So there were barely any arguments that Nupur Sharma's lawyer had the chance to make last time. So will that change this time? Will Nupur Sharma's lawyer get to present her case properly this time, and then the judges will take a decision on how they are going to handle the case this time, because this is the very same bench. So Are they going to take cognizance of the points that Nupur Sharma has made in her plea, the 9 FIRs that she's facing, the death threats, the rape threats that she has cited? So will all of that be considered this time, and will she get the kind of protection that she is seeking? Recently, the Supreme Court, a different bench of the Supreme Court had granted protection, interim protection to Zee News anchor Rohit Ranjan when he came to the Supreme Court seeking protection over the multiple FIRs lodged against him all over the country. But will that kind of protection be extended to Nupur, suspended by her own party, has faced criticism from the Supreme Court earlier? Focus the bench. There are a lot of questions at this point of time, but considering this is her second attempt at trying to get a hearing from the Supreme Court, she would hope for some relief from the top court this time.
Right. Thank you so much, Sugiti, for joining us with all those details. Moving on day 2 of the monsoon session, Congress to raise the issue of inflation and the new GST rates that have brought taxes on previously untaxed items, Gargi, like food and even hospital rooms.
That's right. And a lot of opposition parties have protested over this. The Congress members will be protesting this morning in front of the Gandhi statue in Parliament today. That's before Parliament meets, and then plan to raise the issue in the House as well.
इसके लिए तो हम कल लड़ेंगे. कल हमारा प्रोटेस्ट भी रहेगा गांधी स्टैचू के सामने, हाउस के अंदर भी रहेगा, हाउस के बाहर भी रहेगा, और सभी पार्टी के लोगों को हमने यहाँ अपील भी किया कि हम सभी लोग मिलके प्राइस राइज के ऊपर, जीएसटी के ऊपर हमको लड़ना है, गैस सिलेंडर के ऊपर, सारी चीजों को लेके हम कल लड़ेंगे और हमारी ताकत आप कल देखेंगे.
We just heard Malika Kharge there talking about how they'll be protesting outside the parliament or against these rates of inflation. Let's just take a look at the new GST rates in the midst of the high inflation. The prices from oil to atta and across essentials have soared because of the supply-driven, in fact, shortages that we are facing.
That's right. And more pain for the Aam Aadmi. The new GST rates on these commodities will add to the already stretched household budgets. Here's a report with Uma Sudhir.
Whether you eat the staple rice and wheat or the healthier options like barley and oats, you will pay 5% more. Curd, lassi, buttermilk, paneer, even jaggery and honey will cost 5% more, with all these everyday items brought under GST.
आप अगर 4,000 का राशन आप महीने में खरीद रहे हो, उसमें से 5% ही बढ़ जाए, आपका 200 रुपीज़ का इन्फ्लेट हो जाए, तो वो इन्फ्लेशन कहीं ना कहीं से तो निकलेगी, बट एक मिडिल क्लास की तो पॉकेट कटती ही है.
At this kirana shop in Bhopal, both the shop owner and customers are unhappy.
एक आइटम में 5% जीएसटी शुरू होगा. एक तरफ महंगाई वैसे ही और दूसरी तरफ महंगाई और बढ़ा रही है गवर्नमेंट, और ज़्यादा ग्राहकी में कमजोरी होगी.
ऑलरेडी सब्जी फ्रूट्स इतने महंगे हैं, तो एक आम इंसान के लिए बहुत डिफिकल्ट है सरवाइव करना एक पर्टिकुलर सैलरी में.
For those queuing up to pay hospital stay bills, a new GST of 5% on hospital beds that cost 5,000 rupees and more. ICU beds are exempt.
Especially from the GST from the hospitals, don't charge. Think in an innovative way to help people who come to hospital how to serve. You should try to improve the rules in insurance department to help the people.
Hospitals have appealed to the government not to impose such a tax.
This is the additional cost for the patients. As a hospital, we have to collect this additional amount from the patients and deposit with the government. So it will be an additional cost for the patients. Various forums we are taking with the governments to remove this additional levy right now. And then we hope that it will be reversed shortly.
The government should consider to keep these type of essential things which are like health. And if we are paying from our pocket and we are paying other taxes, indirect taxes, I think such type of services could be exempted. There could be other areas like cigarettes or other places where they could or they could take those money, or from liquor somewhere, other divisions, and they could compensate for the shortfall, not from hospital beds.
5% GST will now be levied on this pre-packaged but unbranded dal and many such items.
Well, the GST hike on essential commodities, not just these daily staples, but many such essential commodities, will have serious implications on the common man's budget. The GST hike comes at a difficult time when consumers are already reeling under inflationary pressures. With camera person Pooja Arya, Vedant Agarwal for NDTV.
Move on to another news, and the controversy over namaz allegedly being offered at Lucknow's new Lulu mall, as well as allegations that this namaz was actually staged to create trouble. Now, the Lulu Group International, the parent company of the mall, is headquartered at Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates.
Right, Gargi, on Sunday, the regional director of Lulu Mall presented a clarification on the entire development so far. He said workers are not hired in the name of caste, religion, but on the basis of their efficiency and on the basis of merit, in which more than 80% are Hindus and the rest are Muslims, Christians and other sections of the people.
Now, the controversy broke out after a video purportedly showed a group of people offering namaz at the mall surfaced on social media and went viral. A case was filed against the group of unidentified people who were involved. The mall administration says those seen in the video were not their staff members. After that video, a right-wing outfit had then objected to the offering of namaz inside the mall and sought permission from authorities to recite the Hanuman Chalisa, which was then declined. So, a massive controversy, breaking out over this entire issue.
लुलु मॉल सभी धर्मों का आदर करता है। किसी भी प्रकार की संगठित धार्मिक कार्य या प्रार्थना की यहाँ अनुमति नहीं दी जाती।
देखिए, नवाज सवाल नवाज का नहीं है। मुझे तो यहाँ तक किसी ने जानकारी दी है कि बीजेपी के लोगों ने ट्रेन किए हैं, कुछ ऐसे लोग ट्रेन कर करके, जिससे कि धर्म और जाति के आधार पर लोगों को लड़ाया जा सके। अगर किसी ने ट्रेनिंग दी होगी तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने।
Welcome back. Now elections to choose the 15th President of India. A race between NDA's Draupadi Murmu and the opposition's Yashwant Sena was held on Monday, Gargi.
Right, though the numbers seem stacked in favour of the NDA candidate Draupadi Murmu, the contest all but over, counting parties that declared support for Ms. Murmu. So it seems all set that India is going to get its first woman tribal president.
Voting to choose India's 15th president in these indirect elections, where over 4,000 MPs and MLAs across the country voted on Monday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was the first person to vote in Parliament, followed by his colleagues in the cabinet and other MPs, while MLAs voted in their respective assemblies across the country. With numbers stacked in her favour after like-minded parties BJD and YSR Congress and also Shiv Sena and Jharkhand Mukti Morcha extended support, ruling BJP-led NDA's candidate Draupadi Murmu is all set to become the first tribal woman president of the country.
एक हमारी बहन जनजाति समाज से आने वाली अब राष्ट्रपति बनेंगी। उत्साह से उनके पक्ष में मध्य प्रदेश में वोट हो रहा है और मैं तो यही अपील करूंगा कि दलगत सीमाओं से भी ऊपर उठ के हम अंतरात्मा की आवाज पर अपना वोट करें।
Yashwant Sena, who is contesting as the joint opposition candidate against Draupadi Murmu, called this an existential battle for democracy.
ये चुनाव मैंने बार-बार जोर दे के कहा है कि बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, क्योंकि आने वाले दिनों में ये दिशा तय करेगा कि भारत में प्रजातंत्र बचेगा या धीरे-धीरे करके समाप्त हो जाएगा.
On the same day, Jagdeep Dhankar, former governor of West Bengal and ruling NDA's candidate, filed his nomination for the vice president polls.
भारत के लोकतंत्र के लिए ये एक मेजर माइलस्टोन मानता हूं कि साधारण किसान का बेटा आज नॉमिनेशन कर आया है. मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री का कृतज्ञ हूं, लीडरशिप का कृतज्ञ हूं कि उन्होंने मुझे यह सुअवसर दिया.
Well, the opposition parties have jointly announced Margaret Alva as their candidate for the vice president polls. TMC, which played an active role in naming Yashwant Sena for the presidential elections, is tight-lipped on its support for Margaret Alva. Party sources say that the decision whether to support Alva will be taken in the meeting on July 21st. With camera person Ashwini Mehra, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
Now let's just take a look as to Draupadi Murmu's journey from the tribal hills to the Sena hills. Let's get you an account.
On the border of Orissa and Jharkhand, Mayurbhanj district. 80% of the population here are tribals, and the Santals, the community from which Draupadi Murmu hails, is the dominant group. Draupadi Murmu's journey from what used to be this backward tribal belt to Sena Hill has not been an easy one. Her small village of Upparbeda was only recently completely electrified. She became the first woman to leave her village for Bhubaneswar to get a college degree. Her parents could afford to give her only 10 rupees a month while she studied. Some of that struggle and simplicity reflected in her 5-room house in Rairangpur. Built by her husband in the 19s, this modest dwelling is where she continues to live.
देश का एक नंबर नागरिक होने जा रहा, हमको इतना खुश लगता है, मतलब हम भी मतलब ये नहीं कर सकता हूँ कि कितना खुश हूँ करके.
Draupadi Murmu's personal life has been struck by tragedy. She lost her 2 sons and her husband. In the village of Paharpur, she built a school in their memory.
मतलब जो गरीब लोग हैं टाउन नहीं जा सकते हैं पढ़ाने, तो इसी चलते मैडम यहाँ बोले कि नहीं यहाँ स्कूल रेसिडेंशियल स्कूल बनाएंगे जो कि गरीब बच्चे यहाँ पढ़ सकते हैं.
In Paharpur, now Draupadi Murmu's home, the women are excited. Her political journey has given them a sense of empowerment. लड़कियाँ जाती है क्या यहाँ से पढ़ने के लिए?
हाँ जाती है, साइकिल पे जाती है पढ़ने के लिए. आने जाने के लिए स्कूल गाड़ी व्यवस्था हो जाएगा तो हम सुविधा होंगे.
The school in this village is only up to class 8. For further studies, the children have to go 3 to 4 kilometers away. The nearest health center is also 4 kilometers away, and drinking water is a problem.
आम गाँव रे जदि गोटे मेडिकल रहिबो ताहले सेटा भी बहुत सुविधा हेबो. आ 8 क्लास तक तो अच्छी, किंतु 9, 10 आ कॉलेज पर्यंत गाँव रे गोटे रहले एजुकेशन पय सबठु भलो हेबो.
Draupadi Murmu is positioned to become the first citizen of this country, and her elevation carries immense symbolism for this tribal belt. For the Adivasi population that existed on the fringes of society, it's now time to take center stage. In Draupadi Murmu's village, with camera person Gauri Prasad, Harsha Kumari Singh, NDTV.
Welcome back, and there's been a cloudburst leading to flash floods in Himachal Pradesh's Kinnaur district. Shalakhar village adjoining the Tibet border has been affected due to these cloudbursts.
That's right. So reports of flooding have been coming from, the hill regions. But take a look at this. A cloudburst and landslides, and roads are completely blocked with debris damaging fields and homes. Let's go across to Ghazali for more. Ghazali, give us the details.
See, this cloudburst was reported in Kinnaur district yesterday evening. Reports are also there about a thunderstorm that hit the village of Salkhar, situated near the China-occupied Tibet border, due to which the main road of the border has also been closed, and due to which, though no casualty or human loss of life has been reported from the Kinnaur district, but in the last couple of days, as the Met Department has predicted, there has been incessant rain in the region, not only in the Kinnaur district but other districts of Himachal as well. As of now, what we have heard from the local sources is that some houses have damaged, some cars have been swept away or washed away in the flood, and still the situation is critical because for the rescue work, even the villagers are not able to come out of their village because one bridge has also been washed away, which connects the village with the main city of the district. So as of now, the situation is critical. The rescue operation is going on, but the rainfall is still continuing there, which is making the rescue efforts more difficult.
All right. Thanks so much, Ghazali, for joining us with all those details. So, cloudburst there and damaged homes in Kinnaur, but fortunately, no loss of life. All right. And now some news from Pune, where at least 7 electric bikes which were kept in a showroom were gutted in a fire on Monday night, and this was during charging.
And fortunately, Gargi, no one has been injured till now, and the incident took place at an e-bike shop located near the Gangadham area in the Pune city. And according to a fire brigade official, the bikes were plugged in for charging, and prima facie a short circuit might have occurred due to overcharging that led to the fire, and 7 bikes gutted. This is in fact, we've seen multiple cases of
fire
while these electric vehicles were put on charge.
And this is very concerning, but we're expecting more information on this. All right, so now breaking news on the economy front, and something we were expecting and dreading as well, and finally the rupee hitting that dreaded number of 80 rupees a dollar.
That's right. This morning rupee has hit 80 to the dollar. Remember when we'd calculate all US dollar prices with 70 mentally, but now we have to get habitual to multiplying it with 80, because a rupee, you need now 80 rupees to equal a dollar, and this is really concerning for the economy at large, because inflation and GST rates have been already hurting the pockets, but a falling rupee means that there could be further inflation, because this means all our imports now get more expensive. We have to pay more rupees for each dollar of imports, and as Gargi, we know that we import close to 80% of our crude oil, and that is one of the major reasons that drives up inflation for all of us.
So this means prices going up of fuel, and Priyanshi, it's been a record-breaking. You've been reporting it every single day, a new record, a further low, and over the last few months, we've really lost a lot of value to the rupee.
If we get you a number, in the last 7 days, rupee has hit 6 record lows. So in the last week, starting Monday to now, there was only one day, that was Friday, that rupee didn't go to a new record low, but every other day rupee has been hitting a record low. And in January, you needed 74 rupees to equate a dollar. So imagine that, from 74 in 6 months, we're down to 80. So the rupee has lost 6 rupees of its value in 6 months. So if we take an average, a rupee that's lost every a month this year because of this slump that's still continuing. And if we get you the reasons, it's majorly, as the government also says, that it's because of global factors. The global economic stress really pulls out money from emerging economies such as India, and we've seen close to 30 billion being pulled out of India just this year. It's a record foreign fund outflow, and that is why the value of the rupee is going down, because dollars demand is going up, because all the money from India is going down. So people don't really want to buy rupees anymore. That's why its value is going down.
And the way it's going to affect the Aam Aadmi and you and me is rising fuel prices, and in turn rising inflation going up even further. So a huge worry on the economic front. Well, with that, time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, we'll get you news from Europe.
As a heat wave rages across Europe, and there are reports of people feeling the heat and even runways melting because of this. We'll get you the details on the other side.
All right, let's return to that big breaking news now, and the rupee hitting 80 per dollar for the first time ever this morning on opening. So the rupee weakening further, and this spells bad news for the economy.
Absolutely, Gargi. It means we could see more inflation, because we now have to pay more for all our imports, right? From oil to metal to literally everything we import, we'll now have to pay more in rupee terms. This also means that your foreign education and your foreign travel gets more expensive in case you're planning any trip. In January, you had to pay 74 rupees for a dollar, but now it has gone down to 80. So rupee has lost 6 rupees of its value in just 6 months.
And this is a psychological barrier, because, we've been very close to that, and every day we're saying it's gone further, a record low, but now 80, which means it could go further.
Absolutely. Experts say that it could go on to 82, 83 in just the coming few months, because the foreign fund pullout is continuing and global economic stress because of the war. But let's try to understand How bad could it get? And is the worst really yet to come for the rupee? And to understand these technicalities, we have Eknath Shinde joining us, who is a market expert. Mr. Shinde, what do you think that key psychological barrier that has been crossed today, that 80 rupees per dollar? Your first thoughts, how is it going to impact the common people of India?
It is definitely going to impact the common man severely, because primarily it's crude oil. As we all know, 75 to 80% of crude oil is being imported. So with rupee being so close, currently also it's very close to being 80. So the crude oil would become costlier. Already we are having more than 7% inflation, which is much more beyond the RBI comfort level of 4% plus minus 2%. Not only crude oil, many commodities and edible oil. Edible oil is also very important because crude oil is required for traveling. Edible oil is required for cooking. So everything and anything which we import is going to become costly. Plus, there are so many youngsters of ours who are taking education in Canada, in US, in UK. That would become costlier. Of course, touring and travel for Indians, many go for business purpose, many go for leisure. That would also become costlier. So rupee being so close to 80, dollar being so close to 80 is definitely very, very bad for us. Though there are certain advantages, but the negatives, they clearly outweigh the advantages. The advantages are that certain Indians who are settled abroad, they are sending remittances to their families. So that, of course, to their families, the money comes in higher value. But overall, the losses definitely outweigh the gains. And as you have rightly said, the psychological impact is really, really severe. And the way things are going on, the way Russia-Ukraine crisis is going on, I think I can expect that it can perhaps breach 82 or 82 and a half also. Because the inflation.
What's the time frame that you're expecting? 82 and 82 and a half in, let's say, how many days or months?
Not months. The way things are going on, I think in another 15 days, it could perhaps, there's a possibility of it crossing 82 rupees. Because the way things are going on, see, the inflation is already very high in US. In US, it's 9.1% inflation, which is a 41-year high. UK also is witnessing 9.1%. So to tame that much inflation, interest rates have been increased. Interest rates, central banks across the world are trying to increase interest rates. So all this is having a negative impact on rupee.
Right, Mr. Jindal, now we do know the RBI took certain steps. So what further can the RBI do now?
RBI has already taken certain steps, as you have rightly said. But very frankly, the might of this global event is much more severe than what RBI can do, because this is a huge global event. Nobody ever expected that the global event would last up to that long. Now also I expect RBI to do certain interventions. RBI has got certain tools to do interventions. But that interventions can't actually, I don't think they'll be actually very useful in times like these when there's a global turmoil. I call it a global turmoil. See, a country like US, which is the biggest and the most powerful economy, having 41-year high inflation, UK having high inflation, Germany having same. So I don't think there could be much which can be done. Of course, RBI has been putting in effort. Trading has been done in rupee. Trading has been initiated in rupee. Certain efforts have been done. But as of now, I think there could be perhaps more damage to Indian rupee.
So you're saying RBI's intervention is not really going to help, and it's majorly global factors. So there's really nothing that the government or the RBI can do to control this slump.
Can the government do anything to, cushion the Aam Aadmi in terms of these rising prices? Taxes have been something, the fuel tax has been something that's been spoken about.
Yeah, as far as the second component of your question is concerned, yes, I'm with you. The government can do a lot. Government can reduce taxes on fuel. The central government, there are two taxes on fuel. One is which the central government charges, that is central excise. The other one is which the state government charge, state VAT. As of now, I am appealing from your platform that the central government and state governments must reduce taxes. Taxes should be reduced. And of course, the GST which has been levied on certain food items, packaged food items, pre-labeled food items, that also I don't think is going to help the common man. So it was not a good decision to levy GST on certain packaged and labeled food items and to increase GST on certain items.
Right.
Because these are the times where the central government and state governments need to clearly help the common man. With full responsibility as an economist, I would say even if the deficit of central government and state governments increases a bit, they should take care of the common man, because for common man, his income has not risen because 2 years of corona and then 6 months of, around 4 to 5 months of Russia-Ukraine war, and his expenses are increasing. So common man needs to be helped. And GST Council comprises of central as well as state governments, we all know.
Right, Mr. Jindal, it has crossed 80, but considering a best case scenario, even if global factors improve, how better could we go even if a recovery happens? What are the levels that you think are the best case scenario for the rupee, even if we see a recovery?
If the recovery happens, supposedly tomorrow, Russia-Ukraine war all of a sudden comes to a halt, then the rupee can definitely recover. And if the Russia-Ukraine war comes to a halt, then I see the rupee recovering back and I see it settling somewhere between 75 and 76. Because we have to understand this thing, that all this damage which has been done is because of this huge global event. So if all of a sudden this happens, that Russia-Ukraine war comes to an end, then there could be a revival in the rupee, and then 75 to 76 could be perhaps the level where we see the rupee settling down. But the way Russia-Ukraine war is going, we all know, the way now the damage has escalated there, though Russia-Ukraine war is not that much on TV channels, but still the damage is very much there, and the severity is not at all reducing. So we have to keep our fingers crossed, and I think, yes, our governments, whether it's central government or state governments, they definitely need to help the common man.
Right.
This is what my appeal and request through your platform.
Right, Mr. Jindal, thanks very much for joining us on that discussion. And as Mr. Jindal said, that there's very little that we can do to control the slump. The RBI's interventions are not really helping, but the government needs to step in to make sure that the impact is not felt by the common people so much.
In fact, rising prices are a huge issue, and this is something the opposition is raising as well on inflation and the GST, the new GST rates that have come into effect yesterday that are going to increase prices of very common day items even further. And in fact, today, the Congress is planning to hold a protest this morning outside the Gandhi statue, outside Parliament, to draw attention to the GST taxes as well as the inflation.
And the Congress members will protest in front of the Gandhi statue in the Parliament, and they will raise these issues of rupee, inflation, GST, and all these pressing issues that are hurting all of us.
इसके लिए तो हम कल लड़ेंगे। कल हमारा प्रोटेस्ट भी रहेगा गांधी स्टैचू के सामने, हाउस के अंदर भी रहेगा, हाउस के बाहर भी रहेगा, और सभी पार्टी के लोगों को हमने यहाँ अपील भी किया कि हम सभी लोग मिलके प्राइस राइज के ऊपर, जीएसटी के ऊपर हमको लड़ना है, गैस सिलेंडर के ऊपर, सारी चीजों को लेके हम कल लड़ेंगे और हमारी ताकत आप कल देखेंगे।
So question is, what really gets expensive starting yesterday? Let's take a look at the new GST rates in the midst of this high inflation. The prices from oil to atta and across essentials have soared because of supply-driven shortages. And to add it, we have the new GST rates.
Right, stretching already stretched household budgets even further. Let's take a look at this report.
Whether you eat the staple rice and wheat or the healthier options like barley and oats, you will pay 5% more. Curd, lassi, buttermilk, paneer, even jaggery and honey will cost 5% more, with all these everyday items brought under GST.
आप अगर 4,000 का राशन आप महीने में खरीद रहे हो, उसमें से 5% ही बढ़ जाए, आपका 200 रुपीज़ का इन्फ्लेट हो जाए, तो वो इन्फ्लेशन कहीं ना कहीं से तो निकलेगी, बट एक मिडिल क्लास की तो पॉकेट कटती ही है।
At this kirana shop in Bhopal, both the shop owner and customers are unhappy.
एक आइटम में 5% GST शुरू होगा, एक तरफ महंगाई वैसे ही और दूसरी तरफ महंगाई और बढ़ा रही है गवर्नमेंट, और ज़्यादा ग्राहकी में कमजोरी होगी।
ऑलरेडी सब्जी फ्रूट्स इतने महंगे हैं, तो एक आम इंसान के लिए बहुत डिफिकल्ट है सरवाइव करना एक पर्टिकुलर सैलरी में।
For those queuing up to pay hospital stay bills, a new GST of 5% on hospital beds that cost 5,000 rupees and more. ICU beds are exempt.
Especially from the GST from the hospitals, don't charge. Think in innovative way to help
people who come to hospital how to serve. You should try to improve the rules in insurance department to help the people.
Hospitals have appealed to the government not to impose such a tax.
This is the additional cost for the patients. As a hospital, we have to collect this additional amount from the patients and deposit with the government. So it will be an additional cost for the patients. Various forums we are taking with the governments to remove this additional levy right now. And then we hope that it will be reversed shortly.
The government should consider to keep these type of essential things which are like health. And if we are paying from our pocket and we are paying other taxes, indirect taxes, I think such type of services could be exempted. There could be other areas like cigarettes or other places where they could or they could take those money, or from liquor somewhere, other divisions, and they could compensate for the shortfall, not from hospital beds.
5% GST will now be levied on this pre-packaged but unbranded dal and many such items. Well, the GST hike on essential commodities, not just these daily staples, but many such essential commodities, will have serious implications on the common man's budget. The GST hike comes at a difficult time when consumers are already reeling under inflationary pressures. With camera person Pooja Arya, Vedant Agarwal for NDTV.
All right, let's move on to other news now. And the centre on Monday has asked ports and airports to ensure strict health screening of all international travellers to contain the spread of monkeypox. On a day, India reported a second case from Kerala.
Now, earlier on Monday, a 31-year-old man from Kerala who returned from Dubai tested positive for monkeypox. Remember, this is the second case because last week, a man who had returned to Kerala from the UAE had also tested positive for monkeypox.